Okay, before going further, let's quickly fix a couple of bugs we have here. So currently, if I send a GET request to get a vehicle, note that the model and make properties are null. And also, the features property returns an empty array. Now, if I try to create a new vehicle, I get a null reference exception. And below that, you see we have an AutoMapper mapping exception. So here the exception says we don't have a mapping between vehicle and vehicle resource, but we actually do have a mapping between these two types. So what's going on here? So if you look at vehicle repository, in the getVehicle method, I made this mistake while writing this line. So with this logic, I'm saying if include related is true, return only the vehicle, not its related objects. Now back in Postman, if you look at the stack trace, you see we get this exception at the time we map a vehicle object to a vehicle resource. At this point, the related properties of this vehicle object are null, so features, make, model, they're all null, and AutoMapper cannot map them. So unfortunately, the exception that AutoMapper raises is a little bit misleading. Instead of saying there is no mapping, it would be better if it said, I cannot map null to this different type. So back in the repository, here we want to make sure that if include related is false, we return only the vehicle object. And now let's rewrite this in a cleaner way. That's better. So that fixes both issues you have seen in this video. Now there is also another issue. In vehicle controller, in update vehicle action, we map the save vehicle resource to a vehicle object, save the changes, and finally map this vehicle object back to a vehicle resource. As you remember, when mapping this save vehicle resource to a vehicle resource, we are only working with foreign key properties. So if I change the model ID from 1 to 2, the related model object is not in the context. So again, on this line, when we map a vehicle to a vehicle resource, once again, AutoMapper says there is no mapping. So to fix this issue, we need to fetch a complete vehicle object from the database before this mapping, exactly the same way we implemented the create action. So here I reset the vehicle object. Vehicle equals repository.getVehicle vehicle.id. And of course, we need to await this. Now, if you look at the implementation of this method, you see that we go to the database 3 times in this method. First, we get a vehicle object, then we save the changes, and finally, we refetch this vehicle object. We could potentially implement this method in a more optimized way, but I'm not worried about it in this context, because think of the use case behind these features. These APIs are for creating and updating vehicles, and it's a feature that is used by an admin. So it's not like posting a tweet that happens several thousand times in a second. So I would rather to keep this implementation nice and clean, easy to read, easy to maintain, and consistent with the other methods in this controller, and do the optimization only if it proves to be a problem. Remember, premature optimization is the root of all evils.